back in a new adventure. He has new friends with special abilities. He has new enemies with funky attacks. But will he save the princess?
Help!
Find out in Paper Mario.
Rated E for everyone.
Okay. First of all, Mario's clearly made of cardboard, so that's not even accurate to the title. Second, Mario jumps off a cliff. Third, I'm pretty sure that's the castle from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Fourth, Peach is way too thick to fit through that shredder. Fifth, there's no way a cardboard cutout of Mario could be strong enough to break through a glass window. Sixth, there's a goat. No reason, just a goat. Is it bad that I missed this kind of advertising?
So, how many of you guys are familiar with Super Mario RPG? It was Mario's first foray into the world of role-playing games, and even though the idea seemed questionable at the time, it of course proved to be a massive hit for both Nintendo and the game's developer Squaresoft, better known today as Square Enix. So in 1997, it was announced that a sequel would be produced for the Nintendo 64 disk drive called Super Mario RPG 2, and I think you know where this is going. The game was being made by Fire Emblem series creator Intelligent Systems, who set out to make an RPG of the same quality as Mario's mainline titles like Super Mario 64, but with a completely different look and feel to it. After art director Naohiko Aoyama created a piece of concept art showing 2D character sprites on top of 3D backgrounds, the development team looked at it and went, "Whoa! That's cool," and built the entire game around it. Since I'm going to assume they wanted to avoid some potential conflict with Square over the name Super Mario RPG 2, the title was changed to Mario Story, while the rest of the world would come to know it as Paper Mario.
Yes, finally, I get to talk about this series. You guys have been wanting me to give it some attention for a very long time, so now we're doing it. And I couldn't be more excited about it. I love the Paper Mario series, probably more so than any other Mario-related entity outside the main games. This wasn't just my introduction to the RPG side of the Mario franchise, but it was also my introduction to role-playing games in general. Thousand Year Door was the one that did it for me, but after spending an unhealthy amount of time with that game, and I mean concerningly unhealthy, I was able to experience the original N64 title thanks to my cousins. When this game arrived on the scene in February 2001, it became the start of one of the most beloved series of spin-offs under the Mario umbrella. So why have I held off on it for all this time? Well, first I think it's important to stress again just how much I love this series. It's held a very special place in my heart for the past 13 years, and giving it the review treatment has always been on the top of my bucket list since day one. But if I were to cover 3 role-playing games back-to-back, I needed to give myself time to prepare for it. As such, I got started recording footage and taking notes around the beginning of May, and managed to get everything done over the course of a few weeks. This was the first time I ever had to work on a video months in advance. I take Paper Mario very seriously. But you might have also noticed I said 3 games, even though there are 5 in total. Well, that's because I'm only covering the first 3 Paper Mario games for this marathon. Hardcore Paper Mario fans like me know all too well about the series' unfortunate drop in quality in recent years. Depending on who you talk to, some might say that it started with Super Paper Mario, but Paper Mario Sticker Star definitely hit more people with a feeling of disappointment when it came out in 2012. Understandable, since that game is straight up garbage. Then it was followed up with Paper Mario Color Splash in 2016, which is basically the Iron Man 3 of video game sequels. It's technically better than its predecessor, but it's still pretty bad. I already did a video on Color Splash a few years ago, and I really don't want to play Sticker Star again, so for now, I just want to focus on the ones that made people fall in love with this series in the first place. including Super Paper Mario, because yes, this game does have fans, and spoiler alert, I am one of them. And to those that are hoping I give Super Mario RPG or the Mario and Luigi games some attention as well, I'll get to them one day, but not right now. I'm sure there might be a letdown for some of you, and I deeply apologize for that, but their time will come, I promise. But now the spotlight is on Paper Mario, and obviously, we're starting with the original. I played this game on and off for years, and it has a lot of nostalgic value to me, but I've never actually beaten it until this video, so let's see if it still holds up after nearly 2 decades.
Well, first I need to make a save file, so let's go with, Wimple. Yes, Wimple. I don't care if it sounds like a sketchy brand of ice cream, I'm calling it Wimple. Now, on to that story. One peaceful day in the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario and Luigi are invited to a party at Princess Peach's castle. When they get there, Mario goes to the top floor to meet up with Peach, but before they get a chance to mingle, Bowser's castle rises up out of the ground and takes Peach's up into space. An idea that Super Mario Galaxy totally didn't borrow from in any way. Suddenly, the Koopa King himself bursts in and effortlessly wipes the floor with Mario, in no small part thanks to the power of the Star Rod. Not to be confused with the Star Rod from the Kirby games, which is also the Star Rod from Super Smash Bros. Nintendo's confusing sometimes. At first you're thinking this is going to be a straightforward Bowser captures Peach, Mario has to save her kind of story, but this is where things get interesting. The Star Rod is a magical artifact that can grant any and all wishes. The Star Spirits, residents of Star Haven, served as protectors of the Star Rod until Bowser and his new henchwoman Kammy Koopa invaded the sanctuary by literally taping themselves into the prologue. Bowser takes the Star Rod for himself while Kammy traps the Star Spirits inside a bunch of playing cards and scatters them throughout the world for them to be held captive by any of Bowser's minions, possibly for use in poker games. This is an element of the story I really like. Bowser actually has a legit reason for doing what he does. He's tired of Mario beating him all the time, and he's ticked off with the Star Spirits for refusing to grant his wishes, so he uses the Star Rod to make him virtually invincible. And Peach doesn't just sit around and twiddle her thumbs, she meets a young star kid named Twink and sneaks around the castle to gather information that Twink can pass on to Mario to aid him on his quest. And I don't know why, but for some reason I always imagined Twink having the voice of Homestar Runner.
Hello, Princess Peach. Pleased to meet you. I came from Star Haven to grant your wish. It's our job to grant wishes, you know. Seriously.
Wait, where's my mouse? Speaking of Mario, let's go see how he's doing. Well, after getting the ever-living pasta pummeled out of him, the Star Spirits use what little power they have to revive him. Later, he wakes up in Goomba Village, where Kammy blocks off the path back to Toad Town with a block. An old Goomba named Goompah entrusts Mario with a hammer that he can use to destroy it, and after recruiting a young Goomba named Goombario to his team, Mario soon makes his way to Shooting Star Summit. There, the Star Spirits use the last of their strength to telepathically inform Mario that he needs to rescue them in order to restore their power and help him defeat Bowser. The rest of the game from this point forward follows a pretty basic structure. Peach and Twink get some juicy info, Twink delivers it to Mario, you travel to wherever the next Star Spirit is kept, you meet new characters to add to your party, they help you find the Star Spirit's location, you confront a boss, defeat them, rescue the Star Spirit, and repeat the process for the next 15 to 16 hours or so. The plot is nothing revolutionary for RPG standards, or even Mario standards to some degree, but where it lacks in complexity, it makes up for that with writing that's charming, funny, entertaining, and even kinda deep. We all know the heroes are gonna win in the end, but the journey they go on to get to that point had me smiling and chuckling throughout the whole thing. There's a character named Junior Troopa that repeatedly shows up to give you a hard time near the start of almost every chapter, and while it sounds like it would get annoying after a while, it never does. He wants to win so badly, and he always comes back at moments when you least expect him, making the encounters all the more humorous. There's a part where he swims all the way to Lava Lava Island just as Mario and his party are already leaving, and so he swims all the way back to Toad Town to fight us. And in the final chapter, when you think you're in for an intense battle with the Koopa brothers, Junior comes out of nowhere, knocks them to the side, and takes you on himself. It's hilarious how desperate he gets, and how far he's willing to go for a chance at taking you down. And now that I'm playing this game after growing up with Thousand Year Door, it's fun to see plot elements here that would later be retooled for its sequel. There's a character named Herringway in Chapter 7 who's a penguin that writes mystery novels, which I took as an inspiration for Pennington since he's also a penguin, but he actually solves mysteries instead of writing about them, though whether or not he's a competent detective is up for debate. Also, one of your party members, Lackluster, joins you because he wants to get tougher and more manly for his girlfriend. Hey, that sounds familiar. This leads me to the partners in general. As is the case with most RPGs, every party member has their own reasons for joining your team. Most of them tag along as a way of saying thanks for helping them with their problems, but Cooper wants to see the world and become an archaeologist like his idol Colorado. Goombario is a big fan of Mario's and wants to impress him, and Bo essentially blackmails you into helping her get rid of this guy called Tubba Blubba, and after beating him, she decides to stay with you because she feels like it. That's another great aspect of the writing. This game is chock full of personality, even in the smallest and almost completely missable moments. In fact, one of my favorite parts of the game is when Ralph and Ruff, the two that run this bad shop in Toad Town, write you a letter thanking you for being such a great customer, and remind you that their prices are 0% off. You might end up skipping over this if you don't go to the post office that often, but it's stuff like this that makes the world and the characters feel much more alive. And I'm pretty sure Bombette might have a stalker. Somebody call Chris Hansen and tell him to bake us some cookies.
This is pretty much what you can expect from the next few games to come. The stories get a little bit deeper, but the side characters are still just as fun and memorable as the main characters. And while the original Paper Mario is much simpler compared to its sequels, the quality of the writing is unmistakable. Lest we forget the countless amounts of references to other Mario games, like hearing the Super Mario Bros. Theme after holding on title cards for a few seconds. That is such a nice touch. But if there's one thing Paper Mario is famous for, it's the gameplay. And going from Super Mario RPG to this, it's different, but not too different.
The Star Spirits are hidden all over the Mushroom Kingdom, and as Mario, you go traveling from world to world solving puzzles, uncovering hidden secrets, making new friends, and beating up foes. The worlds themselves are relatively standard. You got your grass world, desert world, jungle world, and ice world and all that. But the game still changes things up from time to time. When you're not dropping by Mario's house to chat with Luigi and read his secret diary behind his back, you might find yourself in a volcano, a magical field, a toy box, or even the sewers of Toad Town. And even though some of these locales aren't that unique to Mario, what you do in these worlds is a totally different story. Finding hidden ruins and dry outposts, destroying this machine to make the clouds and flower fields go away, momentarily being blamed for murder in Shiver City. Even Peach gets some action. In between chapters, you take control of Princess Peach, as she and Twink have to complete certain tasks like taking part in a game show, turning into minions to sneak around the castle, or baking a cake for this morbidly obese-looking Shy Guy.
Ah, at last. I get to put my cooking skills to good use. Alright, we got some sugar here, so far so good, but what we really need is some soap. Yeah, let's put some soap in the cake, it's good for the sinuses. Actually, let's put some more in there. Flour and butter, you say? Nah, we need more soap. It'll make your insides twice as clean. And what do you mean let it cook for 30 seconds? We want to get this done fast. 1 second is all we need. There we go, all done. Let's see if he likes it. Aw. Maybe I didn't use enough soap.
Well, anyway, Mario can do just about everything you expect him to. His jump and hammer abilities from Super Mario RPG return, and they can even be upgraded over time to let him use stronger variations of these abilities. He also has this spinning dash that lets him move around faster, but that's really all it's used for. It's actually called a spin dash too, so I'm shocked that Sega hasn't sued anyone yet. As I brought up earlier, Mario can recruit new characters to his party over the course of his adventure. There are times on the overworld where Mario has to progress by jumping or hitting things with his hammer, but your partners have their own unique abilities as well, like letting you ride across spikes in lava or hitting switches and grabbing items from far away. They're not always useful for every situation, but they're unique enough to keep the gameplay varied and interesting. They can also be upgraded by hitting a super block, and eventually finding the Ultra Stone will let you upgrade each of them a second time. Upgrading partners gives them more moves and boosts their attack strength, which comes in handy during battle. Combat is turn-based and incredibly simple and easy to grasp. Touching enemies on the overworld causes you to enter a battle with them, and here you can deal damage to them by using your jump and hammer attacks, or you can use items to deal even more damage or replenish your heart points and flower points. Once Mario's done, your partner steps in, and while they're not as versatile, their attacks can all be pretty useful, like Bombette's Mega Bomb and Kooper's Power Shell. Heart points and flower points return from Mario RPG, and on the overworld, you can replenish them by sleeping at these cozy little inns, or hitting one of many health blocks floating out in the open. Flower points are required to use more special attacks in battle, some of which Mario can obtain from being equipped with specific badges. Each badge requires a certain number of badge points to equip, so you can't go too crazy with what you pick. But a faster spin dash is always nice to have. After getting the lucky star from Twink, insert anime joke here, Mario can use action commands in battle. By pressing the A button at just the right time, you can deal more damage to an enemy when attacking, or take less damage when on the receiving end of an attack. I found the timing was a little bit weird at first, but that's only because I was used to how Thousand Year Door felt. In that game, you had to press the button at the moment you jump on the enemy, but here you have to press it slightly before you land the blow. I was able to get used to it pretty quickly, so there's no real issue here. Paper Mario's version of experience points comes in the form of star points. Every time you win a battle, you get star points. Once your star point count goes over 100, your level goes up, and every time it happens, you can choose to upgrade either your heart points, badge points, or flower points. And this isn't required, but I thought it was worth bringing up. If you meet up with Merly in Dry Outpost, she can cast a spell on you that lets her randomly affect the outcome of a battle. She can temporarily increase your attack strength, double the star points you get, or even make more coins appear at the end of a fight. Like in Mario RPG, coins can be used to purchase items from item shops, but running away from battle causes you to lose some of your cash, which isn't a big deal since you can pick it back up with relative ease. I doubt that you'll feel the need to run from battles anyway, because once you rescue the star spirits, things get a lot easier. You see that bar up there? That's your star power. Every time you rescue a star spirit, you gain additional star power and are also granted a new ability. Each one calls in a star spirit to aid you in battle and requires a certain amount of SP to use, aside from Focus, which only slightly increases your SP. Refresh gives Mario 5 heart points and flower points, Lullaby puts enemies to sleep for a short period of time, Starstorm sends a bunch of stars raining down and deals 7 points of damage to enemies, which is awesome, Chill Out decreases enemies' attack power by 3, Smooch gives Mario 20 heart points, Time Out momentarily freezes enemies, and Up and Away turns enemies into stars and sends them flying off into space. But it doesn't work on all enemies. The only ability that doesn't require star power, aside from Refresh, is the Star Beam, which you can only use in the final battle against Bowser to weaken him.
By the way, when I said the Star Rod makes Bowser virtually invincible, what I really meant was that it gives him higher attack and defense. His stats don't reach infinite power levels or anything, he just gets a little bit stronger. Realistically, if they actually did make him that powerful, this game would be practically unbeatable. But it sure felt like that once I reached the final boss.
Paper Mario threw me for a loop on various occasions, but I only faced any sort of challenge because I got careless and didn't properly prepare myself. The game in general isn't hard, I just underestimated how much less of a breeze I assumed it would be. The final fight with Bowser is a good example. Every time he boosts his stats using the Star Rod, I have to use Star Beam to weaken him and then use my strongest attacks possible to take him down. But I wasn't sure which attacks were the most useful against him and when I could safely replenish my health. But I only have myself to blame, and that's what I really appreciate about the original Paper Mario. There was never a moment where I felt like the game was throwing me under the bus. Nothing ever came off as cheap or unfair. If you make a mistake, it's entirely your fault, and that's okay. It punishes you in ways that still encourage you to keep going and persevere. Paper Mario does a great job at balancing out different difficulty levels. It can be easy without holding your hand. It can be hard without throwing too much stuff at you. Now, that's not to say the game is without its problems. Maybe this one stems from partial Thousand Year Door bias, but aside from useful attacks, partners kinda suck in battle. They can't use items for one thing, and they don't have their own HP, so they get injured after taking a hit from enemies. And when they get injured, it paralyzes them, meaning they can't attack or do anything until the effect wears off. Normally when this happens, my first instinct would be to switch them out with somebody else, but for some reason, I can't, so it ends up limiting my options more. Some parts of the game can also be pretty annoying, specifically Shy Guy's toy box. I love this place for the aesthetic alone, but there are times where you have to run back and forth between here and Toad Town to progress. This includes grabbing a toy train from an item shop in Toad Town and putting it in the toy box so we can move on to further parts of the world, and returning a stolen frying pan to this toad named Taste Tea so she can bake a cake that we have to feed to this gourmet guy to get him to move out of the way.
If you look up the word tedious online, it'll link you to Shy Guy's toy box. Watch, I can prove it. Huh. I thought that would lead to some kind of visual gag, but I guess not. I wonder what happens when we type in Super Mario Brothers. Oh, that's so cool! By the way, you ever try looking up pictures of Masahiro Sakurai? You get some normal results, but then you get this. He must have really let himself go. And changed ethnicity somehow.
So when it comes to finding any sort of flaws or nitpicks, I can't really find any more apart from the ones I just brought up. Even though this game is often overshadowed by its far superior sequel, the original Paper Mario still gave me a great time. The worlds are varied and have their own unique gimmicks and ways of traversing through them. The combat, while not perfect, is easy to pick up and figure out, and the writing is filled with a lot of charm and likability to keep you invested. This game has so many memorable moments, I didn't even mention half of them. I love how the music in Tubba Blubba section incorporates heartbeats to foreshadow the reveal of his weakness later in his fight. I love how Mario always falls asleep whenever someone tells him a story. I love how randomly hitting this tree made a warp pipe appear. Not sure how that works, but still. And the adrenaline that flows through me when I find an Amazy Daisy is indescribable. If only she didn't keep running away so much. There's plenty of other things to find throughout the game that range from humorous to just plain weird, but in a good way. I didn't even mention the star pieces, the dojo, the recipes you can cook with Taste Tea, the little oinks that can be hatched from eggs that come out of this ball machine, jumping over fire bars repeatedly to make them explode into coins, the fact that the localization team can't decide on what Watt's gender is, and all the little winks and nods to Mario's other games. The Super Mario World credits theme playing on a radio in Koopa Village, the Yoshi's Island title screen music being used for the Yoshi Village section of Lava Lava Island, and jumping into a vase and then popping out as an 8-bit sprite are just some of my favorites. How about the presentation? For a late Nintendo 64 game, Paper Mario is a visual delight, thanks to its highly detailed backgrounds and bright and vibrant color scheme. Though it's not quite as bright and vibrant on the Wii U Virtual Console version for some reason, it looks kinda dull. The soundtrack is done with basic MIDI samples, but the songs themselves are well written and fit with the worlds you hear them in. And honestly, I like the MIDI sounds. In a weird way, they sort of add to the game's appeal. You know, that same retro nostalgic vibe you get from playing other N64 games. The console wasn't a huge part of my childhood like the GameCube or Super Nintendo, but I have a huge amount of respect for it, especially for giving us games like Paper Mario.
This isn't my personal favorite in the series, but I can see why other people would consider it to be their favorite. It really is a great game. One that, surprisingly, has a big following in the world of glitches and speedrunning. I don't pay a lot of attention to this kind of stuff, but I'm aware of Strider7X. He has a lot of videos talking about glitches and exploits in the original Paper Mario, and judging from that subscriber count, lots of other people are really into that, and I think that's awesome. Games like this deserve to be talked about in some way, and I'm glad that Paper Mario still has fans coming back to it for different reasons. Well, now that I've finally completed this game after so many years, I find it to be a really good starting point for this series, and I can definitely come to appreciate it for laying the groundwork for a fantastic sequel. But I'll tell you more about that next time. Summer of Mario continues with Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
Hell yeah.
Dude, you scared the crap out of me. Get lost.
Well, you don't have to be so mean.
Seriously, what's up with that picture?
Haldo, thanks for watching my first Paper Mario video, guys, and a very special thank you to the patrons on screen, as well as my Superstar supporter for this month, Henry Newman. And before I go any further, I just want to let you guys know that there might be a slight delay with the 1,000-Year Door video, because probably by the time this video comes out, my girlfriend will be here to visit for the week, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time with her. Our 5th anniversary is coming up on the 25th, so I really just want to spend as much time with her as I can. But I will try and get the 1,000-Year Door video done when I have the chance. I already have my footage for the game recorded, and I have a majority of the script written by now, so keep in mind I am going to be spending most of my time with my girlfriend when she's here. But again, I will try and get it out for you guys as soon as possible. Anyway, on to the part where I basically beg you guys for money. No, but seriously though, if you'd like to support me, then please consider pledging to my Patreon page or by becoming a sponsor by clicking the join button, wherever it should be. These are totally optional, but it would really, really mean a lot to me if you took a look. Links to my social media and my Discord server are in the description, and if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, be sure to click that little bell icon down there, because it'll notify you of whenever I do anything like post on my community page or upload a video. You know, because subscribing to a channel just isn't enough anymore. Thanks again for watching, and with that said, this is Mark bidding you all a smashing farewell. Bye-bye!